And today, something special.
What's going to happen today, Pat?
You're going to be introduced to Eufano.
Eufano, is that a new neighbor? Is that a new child? Who's Eufano?
Well, he's my new buddy, and I'm going to show you what a Grand Prix dressage horse looks like in action.
In action?
With me on him.
Come on, brother.
All right.
Well, I'm ready to see that.
Well, it's coming up in this edition of the 700 Club. Well, the United States, folks, has the largest number of people in prison of any other nation on earth. Can you believe that? A lot of them there for drug offenses and minor offenses, but whatever. 2.3 million people are in prison in the United States. And some experts warn that these prisons are a breeding ground for radical Islam.
In fact, Pat, that has some members of Congress worried about a potential threat to America. But others say it isn't a serious concern. In fact, John Jessup has a story from Washington.
Recruiting new converts to radical Islam on the internet or Islamic religious schools is nothing new. But law enforcement officials have said for years America's prison system is a fertile breeding ground for Muslim extremism. New York Congressman Peter King called the hearing on Islamic radicalization behind bars. He says it is a real threat. The most well-known examples are former convicts Richard Reed, known as the Shoe Bomber, and Jose Padilla, convicted of conspiring to support terrorists. The hearing highlighted other terror plots that involved contact with people in prisons, like the Lackawanna Six from Buffalo, New York, the Virginia Paintball Jihad Network, and a Senate report that shows 36 Americans who converted to Islam in prison but are now in Yemen, the home base for al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Experts say Islam can be a good influence, but infiltration by radical clerics, plus a lack of standards and practices, creates risks both inside and outside the prison walls.
Instead of providing a balanced, peaceful, contemporary perspective of one of the great and peaceful religions of the world, we are left with a hijacked, cut-and-paste version known to the counterterrorism practitioners as Prislam.
Democrats charged that the threat is overblown and discriminatory, suggesting that prison gangs and lone wolves pose greater risks. Republicans accuse them of being short-sighted and blinded by political correctness.
I just must say the political correctness in this room is astounding. How many of the street gangs in either New York or California have an ideology which is dedicated to the destruction of the United States?
Democrats shot back.
Let me define what my political correctness is, and it happens to be this document, the Constitution.
Now, this was the second in a series of hearings held by Congressman King. A spokesman in his office told me that there will be more to come. John Jessup, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
You know, people who talk about Islam as being a great and peaceful religion don't know what they're talking about. Muhammad was a warrior. He was a bandit. He robbed people. He killed people. He told the followers to go on jihad. And if they were killed in jihad, they went to heaven and they had 72 virgins. That's what jihad is about. That's what Islam is about. And Islam divided the world into two. And I want to say it again. Read the book if you don't believe it. Dar al-Islam. That means the area of the world that is under the control of Islam. The other is Dar al-Harb, which means the world at war. There's only two things. There's no such thing as peaceful coexistence in the Quran. It is not a peaceful religion. It's a religion of war. And you go back in history, and they waged jihad and overturned countries in North Africa. They overturned the Middle East. They were on the gates of Vienna and attempting to take over by force of arm, nation after nation. It is not a great peaceful religion. And I applaud Congressman King for bringing out the things that are happening in our prisons as these young men in that stressful situation are being radicalized. But aside from that, we must go back and revisit our laws that put so many people behind bars. We've got to do it. It's costing a fortune. It is ruining the lives of people. It is taking juvenile offenders and turning them into hardened criminals. It is a very dangerous thing we're doing. 2.3 million people incarcerated. I mean, America, land of the free and home of the brave, the biggest incarcerator in the world. That isn't a good thing that I want to be associated with. Lee?
Pat, in other news, al-Qaeda has a new leader. Ayman al-Zawahiri will take over in the wake of Osama bin Laden's death. Zawahiri had been the terrorist group's longtime second in command, and it was widely believed he would assume the top spot. He and bin Laden began working together back in the 80s. The Egyptian-born doctor was one of the first to promote the use of suicide bombs. Zawahiri is believed to be living somewhere near the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Defense Secretary Robert Gates says Pakistan's arrest of several CIA informants is a reflection of the harsh reality in the world today. The informants provided intelligence for the raid that killed bin Laden. Gates appeared before a congressional committee, and he heard from members who are growing impatient with the continued aid to Pakistan.
How long do we support governments that lie to us? When do we say enough is enough?
Most governments lie to each other. That's the way business gets done.
Do they also arrest? Do they also arrest the people that help us when they say they're allies?
Sometimes.
One of those arrested is the owner of the safe house the CIA rented to observe bin Laden's compound and the man who copied the license plates of vehicles that entered and left that compound. Louisiana state senators have rejected a bid to display the Ten Commandments on the grounds of the state capitol. They were afraid of being sued. The Louisiana House was in favor of the display. The bill said private groups would pay for the monument, but it didn't include any provision for the cost of a lawsuit. The valedictorian of a Vermont high school says his graduation speech was censored. Kyle Girwar wanted to talk about how Jesus and the Bible changed his life, but he told the audience that he was allowed to deliver only half that speech. Then he held up the pages of the speech and said, "This was the message God gave me, and I'm not allowed to share it with you." The school's principal says Girwar was allowed to mention God and Jesus in the uncensored part of his speech, but he told the Burlington Free Press that public schools have to be careful about letting religion be preached at a school-sanctioned event. The Food and Drug Administration has developed a new labeling system for sunscreens. And as Ephraim Graham reports, the government is hoping the new guidelines will save lives.
Starting next year, consumers will notice a change to sunscreen labels. The FDA says the current labeling system is too confusing.
People were getting a false sense of security with sunscreens the way they were.
Under the new guidelines, labels will no longer be able to claim a sunscreen is waterproof or sweatproof. The FDA says there is no such thing. It recommends sunscreen be reapplied every 2 hours, as well as every time you get out of the water. Another change? In order to claim a specific sunscreen prevents skin cancer, it must block both UVA and UVB rays and have an SPF of at least 15. UVB rays protect against sunburns that may contribute to skin cancer. UVA rays go much deeper and cause premature aging, which contributes to skin cancer.
These changes will help people make better informed decisions about using sunscreens and allow them to more effectively protect themselves and their families from sun-induced damage.
Last year, more than 60,000 people in the U.S. were diagnosed with melanoma, the most dangerous form of skin cancer.
Melanoma used to be a disease of older men. Now melanoma is the most common form of cancer for young adults in their late 20s.
FDA officials say their new guidelines will not only make Americans more aware of the harmful effects of the sun, they will save lives. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Can't be too careful out there, Pat. Melanoma is a scary form of cancer.
It sure is, and it's if somebody has one of those things, it's best to get a dermatologist to look at it and take it off while it's still in a benign stage.
Yeah.
You have a little dog.
I do have a little dog, Ginger.
Ginger.
Yeah.
Does Ginger make you happy?
Does Ginger make me happy? I love that little puppy. She's so cute. 4 pounds, just lovable.
She's therapeutic.
She's very therapeutic.
Well, yesterday we had Big Blue.
Is Blue therapeutic?
Oh, you can't believe it. He's so therapeutic he'll kill you. But in any event, he's now got, I don't know, about 1,800 people on Facebook. He signed up a whole lot of others. He's got a great blog. But anyhow, Lee's got a story about what they're doing with therapeutic dogs.
Yeah, Pat, dogs really are man's best friend. New research indicates they can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and even accelerate healing. Swedish Edmunds Hospital in the Seattle area has developed a program called Therapy Pups. Dogs like this one, named Armani, visit the surgery floors on a regular basis. They're even outfitted with cameras. A custom-made harness is wrapped around the dog's head, and then all it takes is the push of a button and you're rolling. The pup cams are getting thousands of hits online, and the pups themselves are a hit with the patients.
Hi. Oh, you have such a big face. Can you give me a kiss? Can you give a snuzzle? Give a snuzzle. Oh, what a good boy.
Swedish Edmunds Hospital started the therapy pups back in 2008. They plan to expand the program. I don't know how sanitary that is. That looks like, what is that, a bull mastiff?
I think
they slobber a lot.
Kissing that thing, I mean, come on. But you should have seen the women over Blue. I mean, they were hugging him and loving him and scratching him, and
it sounds like a song. Loving and hugging and scratching and sneezing and pleasing. Yeah. I'm sorry, keep going.
Okay. Well, Christy, I told you that in addition to the dog therapy,
yes, Pat.
Ronald Reagan said the outside of a horse is good for the inside of a man. And I want to show you a new horse. His name is Eufano. He's 17.3 hands high.
Look at that beauty.
And there he is. There he is. That's Eufano, the big, big horse.
Wow.
Okay, let's see what we can do with him. Now, he's doing a shoulder in there. You see that movement? It's 3 tracks, and it looks like he's dancing, isn't it?
It does.
Isn't that nice? 3, that's Eufano, and you see?
Look
see
at
3
that.
tracks. The back hind leg comes in, so you got 3 tracks. That's shoulder in. He does that very skillfully, and
you look like a pro.
And this is what's called...
Or is that you? Is that a stunt double?
No, that's stunt double. My Aunt Minnie. That's what's called a piaffe, and he's a high-level dressage. There, he's doing a nice collected canter, and he is. Isn't he a nice horse?
He's a beautiful horse. Okay, so does he work more on voice command, or is it, with the reins? How does this work?
And rein, but I talk to him. I just have to talk to him, and. What do you see?
And he likes you. He's a new horse. He's your new horse.
But he likes me. I feed him, and he sees me coming, and he starts licking his lips. He's such a nice horse.
He's a beautiful horse.
Isn't he beautiful?
And speaking of horses, I did have to notice this today, Pat. You're always kind of spiffy the way you dress, and I noticed your tie today has little horses on them.
Well, that's just for you. That's the,
Can you see that?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, okay.
I think that's cute. That's kind of cool.
Did you see the horse?
I love the horse. Now, we had this conversation before, and I'm going to ask you again, Ziggy, your other horse. Are you showing Ziggy love?
Well, he's out in the field, and he's happy, I think, eating a lot of grass.
Okay, because I just want to make sure that love, goes...
If you want to come out and love him, he's welcome to see you.
Can I ride Ziggy?
Sure, you can ride him.
All right, cool.
Okay.
The president of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary says his denomination needs to repent of a, quote, form of homophobia. The Reverend Albert Mohler says Southern Baptists have wrongly condemned gays instead of embracing them as fellow sinners. Mohler says it's right to call homosexuality a sin, but wrong to say it's just a choice that people can turn on and turn off. He says only the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ gives a homosexual person any hope of release from homosexuality. The American Center for Law and Justice has formed a partnership with an international law school in South Korea. The program designed to provide education and training for law students in U.S. and international law. ACLJ Chief Counsel Jay Sekulow says there's a growing need for attorneys around the world to protect religious freedom. The ACLJ has already established offices in Europe as well as Russia, Kenya, Pakistan, and Israel. Sekulow says the South Korean office will enable the ACLJ to begin working in Asia, one of the fastest growing continents in the world. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.